So let's talk a second about something that's been in the news a lot here lately. There's been a lot of regulatory proposals, even some changes, and they're aimed at expanding access to everyday investors, primarily like in a 401k or workplace retirement, but expanding access to private investments. Those are areas that in the past have only been available to, say, high net worth investors who qualify as accredited investors or institutional investors. Those have typically only been available to those type of investors. And while on the surface it seems like a great deal that there's more access for everyday investors in a 401k to invest in these type of private placements, and there are some possible benefits to this type of thing. But before we get too far into that, I think it's also important to note that even though there's regulatory changes and proposals out there, it's up to a 401k provider if they implement these type of private investments. So it's not going to happen in a fast way, and it's probably not going to happen with a very large percentage of offerings in a plan. But with that being said, some benefits that I could see to this type of opening up of these opportunities could offer some more diversification into asset classes or types that people currently don't have access to. It also could possibly add some more additional growth opportunities, but there's lots of downsides. Most investors can't tolerate the volatility of typical normal liquid investments traded on exchanges that are traded and liquid and available each day. Just that type of volatility bothers investors. With private placement offerings, you have investments that are typically very illiquid. They can't be bought and sold typically in any day and cashed out at any given moment. That's something that I think would really bother everyday investors. They typically have higher fees, less transparency, and it's also very hard to determine valuations. What exactly is this investment worth? Is it trading at a fair price? Those things are very hard to determine because typically those private investment areas don't have a lot of transparency. So even though that is something they're trying to open up to everyday investors, I think it's a big risk for a lot of investors because it's an area that they probably haven't invested before or had any experience with that level of volatility and that complicated of an investment.